It worked because I got the email notification,
Okay, great.
I believe.
That with 1 minute to spare.
To just, when it comes up with the YouTube screen, just make sure that it's muted on the YouTube screen, or you're gonna get feedback in the council chambers.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself now.
Okay, perfect timing. We're straight up 7 o'clock here, so I'll go ahead and call this evening's meeting of the council to order. Please note that the council chambers have reopened to the public. Meetings will continue to be live streamed and available for public viewing on YouTube. As part of the virtual public participation, if you have any questions regarding items on the agenda, please submit them by email to mail@ektwp.ca. Questions received prior to the meeting will be addressed during the public question period, which is limited to 15 minutes. We begin this regular council meeting by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin First People. We do so respecting both the land and the Indigenous people who continue to walk with us through this world. Just before we get to the adoption of the agenda, I'll just note that we do have regrets from Councillor Downey, who is taking some much needed time off and is on vacation at the moment. Joining me here in the chambers are Councillors Osterhoff, Renault, Beatty, Smith, and Brayton, and we're joined by our CAO, our fire chief, and our director of finance. We have a special guest with us here in the public as well, and we'll get to that in a few minutes in the agenda. So with that, I am looking for a mover and seconder for adopting tonight's agenda as amended. The motion is the regular meeting of council agenda dated July 9th, 2025 be adopted as amended. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Renault, seconded by Councillor Brayton. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. And there'll be a slight pause. I'm just our deputy clerk is remote at a conference, but I have some additional paperwork here so that I can keep track of movers and seconders and so on. Okay, moving on to pecuniary interest declaration. Does any member have an interest in any item on tonight's agenda? And if so, what is the general nature? Okay, hearing and seeing none. We've got to that portion in the agenda this evening where we have a special presentation to make. As some of you may know, June is Seniors Month in the province of Ontario, and we were invited to come up with nominations for somebody special in our community who has contributed to the benefit of the community throughout their life. Certainly not only in their senior years, but as they marched towards that time in their life. All of the nominees that we had in front of us were worthy recipients, but life is what it is, and we had to narrow it down to one person. And I have to say the nomination that we received for the individual that we're going to be honoring tonight was not exactly a war and peace, but it left me with the challenge that I can't really highlight many of the life accomplishments because I'd be leaving out so many. But this person's contributions to the community have been numerous over decades, quite literally. Many different aspects of community life, and has been a member of our community for a long time. So with that, if I could call upon Sylvia Foxton to come and join me here for a presentation of a plaque on behalf of the province, and we'll take a picture and celebrate all that you've done for the community. Through here, so sure. Yeah, we'll come to that. Congratulations. I know you didn't know anything about this. You're not supposed to. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Wow.
There you go. We're in the zone. Right. And if you wish to say a few words, you certainly may. You don't have to.
Okay. I was told I was coming here tonight because there was going to be some discussion about the band shell. And I should come and listen to it because there's a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Well, that is true.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about this. And I guess the information came from my husband. I can't imagine anybody else knowing that much about me. I don't, he
Well-
said it was a long,
These things are sealed and supposed to stay that way, so I can neither confirm nor deny.
okay. He knows I don't like cigarettes,
Oh,
and he's not very good at keeping them.
apparently he did well this time.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations and thank you for all you've done.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to all of council.
Well deserved.
Have a good night, though.
You're welcome to stay and listen to the discussion about the band shell when we get to the minutes if you like.
Does she have car keys?
I could leave after the
Well-
band shell discussion.
You're welcome to do as you wish. You can stay or you can go.
Oh. We'll say it's a good thing you came separately. Get a ride home.
Very good. All right, we'll move on to adoption of the minutes. The motion is that the regular meeting of council minutes dated May 26, 2025, and the special meeting of council minutes dated May 29th, 2025, be adopted. Could I get a mover and second for that? Moved by Councillor Osterhoff, seconded by Councillor Wood.
Sorry.
Any discussion on
Just a
those?
question.
Sure.
She's approved them, but she wasn't at the signing. was she?
You talking about?
Oh, true. Okay, yeah.
I think it has to be Robin.
Yep, that's not a bad idea. Councillor Smith, then we'll have as the second.
That's what I think.
Yep. Very good. Okay, so we have that motion on the floor to receive those minutes. Are there any concerns, questions, or corrections with regards to either set? Okay, I'll call it then. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Moving on to our staff reports. The first item is 6.1. This is with regards to a debt management policy. The motion is that council receives report F-21-11 and that council approves the debt management policies. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder to get that on the floor. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Osterhoff. And Madam Director, did you have anything that you wish to add?
No, this is, we're borrowing this year, so I thought maybe it would be wise to get this policy in front and make sure it's in place for the future.
Make sure we have a lid on.
Yes. Yeah, and I will say before I open up the floor for discussion, it certainly is more common to have some kind of debt policy in place than not to have one. I guess we haven't needed one because we really haven't used debt as a tool to the extent that we are doing now. So it is a good time to entertain the discussion. So with that, open the floor for any thoughts or contributions if we want to see any changes. Okay. Councillor Renault.
Just, I want to know what was meant by the 25% net income.
Okay.
It was talking about not being able to.
Well, that's on our, sorry.
Go ahead, Madam Director.
The 25% refers to the, in the other report, you have the asset repayment limit,
Oh, okay.
and that's where we're capped. 25% of net revenues is where we're capped provincially. So, but I'm suggesting we don't go that far on a regular basis, that we cap it at the 15 so that we have that other 10% in case we have emergencies.
Okay, I think Councillor Osterhoff, did I see your?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right, no other discussion then? Okay, I'll go ahead and call the question then. All those in favor? Okay, that carries, thank you. All right, moving on to item 6.2. Need three hands here. That is a report regarding the annual repayment limit. So the motion is that council receives report F-25-12. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Renault. Okay, and with that then, Madam Director, anything to add here or?
Yep, this is just in tandem with the debt applications and stuff that we have to follow, I'm required to revise our annual repayment limit in the years that we borrow debt. So that's what I'm doing.
So I'm gonna ask you for just a little clarification around, I think it's the second page of the report, only because we just finished dealing with a 15% figure in the previous report. And then in this one, we're looking at percentage of committed debt capacity, 7%. And then the annual repayment limit, we're looking at 19%. So can you help us make sense of those figures? Because I don't want anybody, mostly for the public, looking at the 19% and saying, geez, they already just went past their policy.
Well, there's a percentage, that's the percentage of the 25%.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I took what the 25% would equate to from our annual repayment limit, which is 2 million.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're already borrowing a little bit for the fire hall and the salt storage. And so that has to be taken into account. And then I've added in the repayments that we would be making, provided we're approved for the bridge. And that will bring us to 32% of our 15.
Right.
Right? In our debt policy, we said we're based on council's approval. We were only gonna go to 15%, not the 25. So by doing what we're doing and borrowing for these bridges, it's taking us to 32% of that 50.
Yeah, so
We
it's
still have room.
it's a third of our self-imposed limit.
Right.
So the other way that I'd like to state this for anybody that may be watching, that 19.5, close enough to 20%. Really, that's 20% of the provincial 25. So essentially, we're using 5% as compared to what the province says we could afford
We could.
25.
Yes.
We're only using 5%. I just want to be able to relate the numbers directly.
Yeah.
So that people have a sense of, scale and
Right.
scope, and they don't get the wrong idea that we're going way off the rails, that's all. So did I see your hand up, Councilor Riddle? Okay,
I
sorry,
did.
I thought I.
Doesn't want to start digging.
Okay, any questions or discussion around, this item then?
It's,
Councilor Oltrowski?
no, it's a big topic, and I appreciate the fact that staff put these numbers in front of us. And, because they're real for me, and how the mayor explained it makes it more real for other people. So I appreciate that.
And it is tough to put that in a
Yep.
report,
Yes, it is,
but
but it's a new world we're into, and we want to be careful. We have a proud history of debt management here.
Yep.
And I think most of us would like to maintain that.
Yep.
And through your work, you're giving us targets and limits, and I think that's a really good thing, so thank you for that.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I'll go ahead and call the question on that one then. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 6.3. This is a report regarding procurement and tariffs. Get the motion in front of me here. So that motion is that council receives report F-25-13 and that council directs staff to update the procurement policy to bring back for approval. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder there. It's moved by Councillor Brayton, seconded by Councillor Smith. Okay, and Madam Director, did you have anything to add here?
well, another great topic we've got going on. The economics of the world. Actually, this stemmed from Eastern Ontario Treasurers meeting I was at a couple weeks ago, and the city of Kingston did a nice presentation to us. And I thought, yeah, I think this is a great idea. We have to be so careful with our procurement policy because we are required to follow free trade policies, and there's more than one policy that's out there that and they're built into our procurement policy. It's all in there. But how do we now say we want to buy Canadian? How do we now say we want to have that push, because we're trying to support our own country? So this is what I've come up with from the presentation that the treasurer for Kingston did for them. And these were the suggestions as amendments to the procurement policy that. Essentially you're creating an offending jurisdiction to be able to. Say, no, we're gonna choose, and really the thresholds. Are very high. I don't think anything we buy. Other than our Adobe and Microsoft software, which, sorry, guys, I am not changing that out. That would be, cost more than. You know, the benefit, but. If we can get all our department heads and everybody, we don't tend to. I think there may be a few struggles, particularly maybe with the fire department, or if we're buying. Vehicles and stuff like that, because that industry is pretty crazy. But for the most part, I think we can strive to buy Canadian as much as possible.
Okay, so I'll open the floor for a discussion, if any, around that. Okay.
The only other thing I
Direct-
wanted to add was there's a. AMO had put out Oxford Economics, and I think the mayor got this email too. And if you plunk in our numbers. You know, based on a point in time, and things seem to be changing weekly, but at a point in time. It looks like based on our spending that we could potentially, it could be 3% of our capital spend that. Like we've budgeted a certain amount, we may be out 3% based on this Oxford economics, not 25%, which we're all. And the other thing, this chart at the beginning, I thought was really informative. You know, the US tariffs on exports to USA is an economic impact globally, where Canadian tariffs on imports from the US. That's where our procurement impact comes from. So I just thought it was worthwhile getting it out here at the table to have a discussion, and I don't know if you guys are. We haven't really talked about it, you know, whether there's a drive for this council to really want us to focus on buying Canadian as municipal.
Okay, so I'll welcome input from council. Go ahead. Councilor Smith.
I think I'm sure everyone's intent is that buy local, buy Canadian, right? That's what we're here for. But we all know the tariffs, we all know what's taking place with the supply chain and the materials from the US. And I don't, you know, it's out of our control. But all we can do is encourage. If we can do it, we can do it. If we can't, well, then, like you said, it's be prepared. You know, the additional cost is going to be incurred.
Okay, Councilor Osterhoff.
That being said, I agree 100%. But when we procure, we're gonna buy something, comparative pricing, if it's in front of us, we'll still make the right decision at that time. On each individual purchase. And sometimes for me, it would be the dollar, if it's huge. Difference. I mean, I want to respect my taxpayers and the residents back around the home, and that if we can save money and it seems to be from another country, it might be still the right thing. So I like to leave it to the individual decision, but overriding, yes, we're aimed to buy Canadian.
And that's essentially what this is doing, is just encouraging it.
Yes, very. I think I'm the same page.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, I'll go ahead and call the question on that then. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to 6.4. That is a report from our fire department regarding a piece of surplus equipment. The motion is that report FES-25-06 be received, and the council deems the 1995 International Rescue Truck surplus. And the council further recommends that the 1995 International Rescue Truck be sold by public auction on govdeals.ca. I'm looking for a mover and seconder there, please. Moved by Councillor Eady, seconded by Councillor Brayton. And any discussion on this item? Chief, did you have anything you want to add?
No, it's in the report, so it was a truck that we just replaced, and basically it's a 30-year-old truck that's sort of, we got our money's worth out of it type thing, and it's time to let someone else have it, I guess, and
Okay.
that can still use it. It's not really up to current standards and such for emergency vehicles, so
All right,
that's basically it.
Councillor Smith?
Through you to the chief. Refresh my memory, but did we put a reserve bid on the last?
Yes.
Okay, so if you don't mind, your worship, I will amend the motion to say that we put a reserve bid of 15,000. It should be in your recommendation. It doesn't say that. It
It's
just
in the
says
first one.
deemed surplus and says recommend.
Right, it's not actually baked into the motion, is your point.
Further discussion though.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so if you're proposing an amendment to that effect, we just need a seconder for that.
Is it would be,
Second.
is it?
Okay, thanks, Councillor Renaud.
I hope so, yeah.
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, if it doesn't sell, then we'll have to come back and
Revisit.
make another attempt at it. But
All right, so we do have a motion on the floor to amend, to add another operative clause that a reserve bid of 15,000 be placed on it. Any discussion on that? Okay, call the question on the amendment then. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. So the original motion is on the floor with that amendment. Spirit is still the same, just clarifies that the recommendation now is fully baked into the operative clauses. So any discussion on listing this for surplus at that 15 reserve? Okay, so I'll call a question on that then. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you. Just give me a moment here. Okay, on to 6.5. This is another report from our fire department updating our establishing and regulating bylaw. So the motion around that one is that report FES 25-07 be received, and the council repeal bylaw 01-32 and bylaw 05-13, and the council adopt bylaw 25-34, being a bylaw establishing a regulating the Elizabethtown-Kitley Fire and Emergency Services. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Oster. Okay, Chief, anything to add here?
thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, it's just a couple old bylaws that, need to be revisited on a regular basis. It's something that, it's recommended that all fire departments and municipalities do just to make sure that we're staying current and we're capturing our levels of service. And you'll see some other small changes there as to how we distribute the honorarium to volunteers, where it's more of a performance-based thing now, where it's not everyone's getting the same. They're being treated fairly based on their years of experience and training. And there's a couple small changes to our level of service as far as what we provide, because some services we no longer provide because we don't have the training or the equipment where we used to do that years ago. And that plays into the new mandatory certification legislation from the province, which requires certifications on all rescue training and such. So that would be a big investment for the township to get all our members trained and certified, and the equipment to current standards. So basically we've just removed those services. As I've said, we haven't really been called upon to use them in recent years anyways, and we weren't really equipped to do that. So that just is a little cleanup. And then the other major one that we're looking for is to add another deputy chief's position, basically, which would be strictly a volunteer position. It'd be just like any of our other officers, but it would be at the discretion of the chief, and they would be assigned to a station, so that it's just helps with chain of command, where you would have somebody that would sort of lead that station. So it may end up at any of the 3 stations, depending on where the rest of the administration came from in the future or whatever. So it's very flexible to have that person in a position where the chain of command is better defined for the chief to assign duties to lead a particular station, which in the past we also had 2 deputies at one time, and then we sort of went away from that with the full-time position. So it's not really, there's no real implication cost wise to the township, it just helps with chain of command if we have someone identified as a leader of the particular station that doesn't have that right now. And also provides for a third line of defense if, you know, as an example, the deputy and I go to the conference in Toronto, well then we would already have somebody in place to lead the township over away, so.
Okay, thank you for all those pretty clear explanations. I'll open up the floor for discussion, if any. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thank you. So, just to carry on that conversation of the deputy chief position, which is just a volunteer position. With yourself being stationed at number 1, with the deputy basically close by station 2. Am I assuming, or is this what we're looking at as a deputy for station 3?
Yeah, so the title would be district chief, that's what it is in the bylaw, and yeah, this today's where we are today, then that district chief would be at 3.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Going through the package, just one question about this, I won't pronounce it right, Noxalon?
Naloxone,
Okay, so are you guys, are the fire department administering that?
yes. Trained and it's become quite common even for regular first aid training now to provide that training. And we're required to carry it from the Ministry of Labor for our own members in case we're exposed.
Okay.
So basically, we did that about a year ago from that legislation, and then we moved on to that where everyone feels comfortable having it in as part of our toolkit and being able to use it if we come across that person in the public that requires it, and I already have it, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't think this necessarily applies directly to us. I think you guys are covered under other legislation, but there is the I don't know if it's called the Good Samaritan Act, but it's legislation that covers, you know, the Good Samaritan concept, where even somebody, you know, from the public that administers aid in that regard, or any other kind of assistance to try and intervene in an emergency is sort of covered from liabilities. So clearly, I think society is, you know, marching in that direction. I saw Councillor Osterhoff.
I think I understand your district chief position. Is it, when you decide, if we approve and you decide who that individual is, would that be on a rotational basis, or is it a term?
No, I think we would just identify somebody and then they would maintain that position. So there'll be, if it goes into the bylaw, we'll certainly come up with a job description, and we'll have an application process, and
Okay, so
they'll be selected.
so it could be 3 or 4 could apply,
Correct.
even though they know it's not a paying position, but the status of the respect and their abilities will show them.
Right.
Any other discussion? Okay, I'll go ahead and call the question then. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you. Now, moving on to our next item, 6.6. This is our building activity report. So the motion will be here. That report B-25-08, the May 2025 building activity report be received. A mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Renault, seconded by Councillor Eden. Any discussion around this? Okay, I'll go ahead and call the question then. All those in favor? Carries, thank you. Do have some motions coming out of committee reports. No, we don't. That's what that posted is. We don't have any. All right, so the committee reports themselves, we just need to receive those as a block. The motion is that the following draft committee minutes be received. Public Library Board draft minutes dated May 21st, 2025. Heritage Elizabethtown-Kitley Committee draft minutes dated May 22nd, 2025. Committee of Adjustment draft minutes dated May 22nd, 2025. And the now infamous Lynn Banchell Ad Hoc Committee draft minutes dated June 3rd, 2025. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder to receive those, please. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Osterhoff. Anybody have any questions regarding any of those sets of minutes? Councillor Osterhoff.
Yes, I would like to council to take note of our minutes, and under new business in the minutes for the library. The note, we were notified that the lodge building where the library is renting from has been sold. And I'm just wondering if there's any direction or instruction from council how the library should go ahead and handle that. There's been some discussion saying that, I mean, we were told by the current leaseor,
Yep.
that our contract was done at the end of July. And now it sounds like, there's a verbal agreement that status quo will continue, but that means we don't have the contract.
Right.
What position does that put us in, and what is your advice, or what do I bring back to the library board?
Okay, Mr. CAO, do you have any insight?
Thank you, your worship, and thank you, Councillor Easterhoff. Council should be directing the board to sign a lease agreement. We have to protect ourselves by having an agreement that tells us what the terms are about that lease, whether it's the rate we're paying or the length of the agreement, what obligations we might have, and any obligations that the owner will have. So my advice would be to have council put a motion forward to direct the library board to come forward with a lease agreement for council's consideration. I guess the board would be the ones to ultimately sign it, but they need to have a lease agreement.
So I'm just thinking about the language. I know we're in the habit of saying direct because we're used to passing motions to direct staff. I think the library board operates under its own act. So I'm just wondering if that language is respectful of the relationship, or should we just request that they enter into a lease agreement? I think at this point. All right. So did you want to discuss further, or?
Yes,
Okay,
how would you see going forward if that took, let's say it took 6 months? Shouldn't you believe that the library's closed on the 30th of July?
I don't think so.
Without a lease after that? I don't,
Now, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but I do know that verbal agreements are recognized in law and enforceable. So if we take that at face value, and if there's good faith being demonstrated, if it takes 6 months to negotiate, fair enough. If there's some indication that negotiating is taking place, then I think that all demonstrates good faith, and I don't see any reason why the library would have to close.
just
That's a good
clarity.
question.
But
Do I see AO?
Through your worship, and I would agree with you on that, you know, they've given us some comfort that yes, they want to continue the arrangement, so I think we could continue. I think what we're looking for is just something that gives us a little bit better understanding what the future looks like and what our obligations are.
That should be easy to discuss.
Madam Director?
For you to committee member.
Yeah.
Henry, we did have a discussion, sorry. Councillor Oosterhoff, we did have a discussion. And right now, we've got OnServe taking over the IT portion. And at the time, I was told that we weren't gonna have a library, and I had ordered all the stuff. And we haven't done the setup in the library, because there was also discussion that
Library in Lynn.
the new owner of the building was going to redecorate or something, so there was potential for the library stuff to have to be moved out for a time anyway. So I think there's a lot of questions surrounding this that we don't have answered, we need answers to move forward.
Yeah. And the other thing is, for you to take back to the library board. This has nothing to do, this is not reflecting poorly on the new owner of the building in any way, shape, or form. It's the reality of the municipal sandbox that we all play in, that we're perceived as having the deep pockets. And, you know, we talk about the joint and several liability issue that's been going on for years and years. Just the perception that there's money available means we're going to be named. If anything ever happens, we're going to be a party to whatever it is that takes place. And so we have to look after the taxpayers' interests. That's all that this is just doing our duty. It has really nothing to do with the owner of the buildings.
Thank you. I mean, I'm comfortable repeating some of these messages, but more comfortable after I hear them from you rather than just saying them on my own.
Yeah, understood. So I see Councillor Renault, and I think, did I see it in order? Okay, Councillor Renault?
Just a question, you said that it's got its own act. They're a separate committee. So they make the decision whether the township has one library, 5 libraries, whatever, it's their choice, not the township's choice, how many libraries we have.
It's the, as far as I'm concerned, it's the township's choice, but I guess the control mechanism for that is if we give them a certain budget and they manage to do 3 locations with that, well, you know, good on them. If we don't want 3 libraries and they really want 3 libraries, the only way that we, I think, could force that would be, okay, well, here's a budget that we think is good for 1 library and that will be the practical implementation. Does staff see it any differently or do I manage to capture that?
Through your worship, the act is really an interesting conundrum that I think we're having to struggle with, which what is the township and the library boards? But the way we're reading it now is, yes, it's down to them, but we control the budget, how much money we decide to give them.
I just know when you have one thing, you can spend more money if you have to divide it in 2 or in 3 or in 4. Does any of them get, like, I just look at the schools.
Mhm.
You had 1 school board. Things had all the money. Now you have 2. Neither of them have got enough money to run. So I was just wondering how that works, because I don't see any of them, any of the 3 opened enough to make them viable. Like, they need more hours so that people use them. So they can do functions, that they can do programs for the kids that makes it work better. But when you're spread so thin, it doesn't, to me, it just doesn't look like it's working when you're spread so thin and you don't have anything going on that benefits the children in the municipality.
Okay, do you want to respond to
Can I
that?
respond to that before?
Yeah.
I certainly think there could be a discussion on that topic, whether we have 1, 2, or 3 branches. And this is an opportunity to open that up. But maybe it's on me or it's on my library staff to be more eloquent in describing what the services that are provided. Like, it is, the libraries are used. But I understand there's one in the north that's not open on Saturday mornings and there's soccer going on, something like that. I mean, there could be more options, but the library is in use. I went in there today. You know, there's a customer walking in with a book and looking for another book, and there was development handicapped individuals there with leaders, and there was knit and chat going on. I mean, there was 8, 10 cars by the library. So I could get more information to describe what services they are providing to make it more real for us. But that does not eliminate the discussion that is possible. But I thank you for the input.
Okay, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just listening to our Director of Finance, mention the on-serve and that you were told to hold back and. Or,
It was, we are not gonna have a library,
oh,
was the information I got, so
Oh.
I held back.
oh,
And the board met, the chair of the board was very tight-lipped about whatever, so
well, that's
there was no, there was no
Information we
feedback.
have.
Yes, I think the sequence of events was the previous owner. The sales actually gone through, so I'm gonna refer to it. The previous owner of the building gave notice that, you know, as per the lease, the building was being sold, and so the lease was gonna get terminated. And so I think at that time, it was an unknown that there may not be a library there, right? And it was only through the passage of time, it became clear that the new owner was very sympathetic to the community and had no interest in kicking library out. So I think it's important to maintain that chain of
Okay,
events.
so that's what I'm gonna touch on now. So I will say that, I'm sure the new owner will probably want to continue with the library there. I do agree that we need to have a lease agreement with the new owner. Probably sooner than later, because that new owner is his mother that basically started up the library. So I can see there's a lot of personal flavor to keep it going in the Village of Lynn. But I'm just gonna say that we as a municipality and the library board, you should get yourselves an agreement, just like you had with the previous owner. You got a very good lease agreement with that one, very well laid out, and I think you need to have another one with this one.
Councillor Overtroff?
Supported and the report we got at the library board meeting from the chair and just talked with the new owner, that there's talk of renovating the building. But they don't know how aggressive that was gonna be, whether we all had to move out. And the building's an old building, let's face it, and old buildings get old. And the carpet and the walls and electrical and all this stuff. So, and there was no discussion the size of the renovation and when. And but it was not immediate to us, like it was delayed. And staff didn't know, why would we invest in $5,000 worth of computer equipment when we're gonna be closed in 2 months? So that delay put that in
The last comment would be, I strongly recommend that the library board meet with the new owner. Maybe as you did last time with the other previous owner, so you get to lay the land of everything going on at the same time.
more than one individual.
Thank you.
I'm gonna flip unless somebody else has a question here. So before we leave the library, in case we have something in any of the other minutes. I'm gonna float something for council's consideration. There've been a few times that the roles and responsibilities, or the question of the roles and responsibilities of the municipality as the landlord versus the board making decisions and so on. There seems to be a little bit of a lack of clarity. And I know that this will cost a little bit of money for us to go and do this. Is there any appetite for us to actually go to our legal counsel and get that clarity to say, okay, based on the acts, here's the relationship between the two entities, and here's where the separation of responsibilities is for our benefit and for the library's benefit. Because I can see, as we continue to march, be it the next season of services, grass cutting, snow plowing, whatever, or if the library does get closed down for a period of time, who makes that decision, says, yes, we're comfortable with that. I can see that this is going to be a recurring theme. So is there any appetite to just finally once and for all get some clarity so that we all understand where those borders and boundaries are between the two groups? Councilor Ostrov?
I personally would welcome that. And I think, with all due respect, I think the library board needs to hear it. I'm not gonna speak for you, but I think you all do too, but you're a little more aware, but the library board, we've got great people, volunteers from the community coming in. Blind, not negatively, but they're all willing, good people, but they don't know any of the facts. And they don't know what the responsibilities are. And I think this is an important training session. For them at this point, because that's a unique relationship between library board and this kind of thing. It's all over. Other townships have the same thing, but I'm dealing with a board of willing people, but
rudderless, if I can put it that way.
I accept that term, and yes.
So does council want to form a motion to be directed to do that? Okay, so does somebody want to put a motion on the floor then to direct staff to get that opinion?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Osterhoff.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Renault. So any discussion on that matter? Okay.
Do you wanna add, do you wanna try to put the library board act in a package? So that the board is aware of what I think in the act it states what the board roles and responsibilities are. And this is going back a number of years ago when on the library board. And it's not, this is not new communication that we're having here. This is the same stuff we hear, I shouldn't say term after term, but it's someone thinks they own it and we own it and they own, they don't know what the roles really are. I think the act also states that, but I have no problem getting the information clarification from a lawyer. I think the library board act also states some of that stuff too.
It would be Councilor Osterhoff.
And that would be similar to this would be all inclusive for the two boards, but I mean, on an onboarding program, these new members don't have that. They might be given a piece of paper that describes a little bit about the Ontario Act, but it's just not enough.
Yeah.
About their duties and responsibilities.
So I agree with you 100%. I don't mean, I'm not being contrarian just for the sake of it, I guess.
Okay.
Part of the reason that I would like the clarity of the roles between the two is if it turns out that the act does spell out certain roles and responsibilities, as I expect it does, who are we to prepare that board's onboarding package? And yet the problem is, if the people who are there are great people from the community and well-meaning, but they don't understand the act, then do they have the skills to be able to do that? It's a bit of a tail biting bootstrap situation. I just want to make sure, I know that the relationship can be tenuous at times between the two groups. I'm hoping that this effort will help to at least provide some clarity. And the last thing I want to do is, okay, we're on a march to a better relationship. And then all of a sudden we're perceived as stepping on their toes and here's a package for you to train new people for your board. So just copy this.
Skip my part, that's something I could do in-house over there.
Yeah.
The onboarding part.
I think as a first step, maybe.
Your proposal is more wider for the two of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Renault?
So would we get this clarity? Would we have a meeting with both groups, council and board, to go over what we find? So that they understand and we understand and we all hear it at the same time?
I would hope that this will go something like this. Staff will go and get the legal opinion from our council. There'll be a report come back, and I would hope that our legal counsel might be available virtually to answer questions and to have the board at a joint meeting or as guests of a council meeting, what have you, I think is a good idea. So that we can have that Q&A and just sort of hit a little bit of a reset on that relationship. And so everybody's marching forward from the same starting line. That's the way that I see it anyway, unless somebody wants to contribute something different.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on that motion? Okay, I'll call the question on that then. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Just make a note here. Okay. All right, so now, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. The process of another motion while one was still on the floor. We hadn't actually officially received all the minutes from the committees.
We won't tell if you.
Okay, there we go. So back to that original motion. Any other discussion coming out of the rest of the minutes? Okay, not seeing any, so I'll call that question now. All those in favor of that? That carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item on our agenda. This is, so we finished the committee reports and now we're into bylaws. So the motion is first and second reading, looks like of a couple of these. So the motion is that the mover be granted leave to introduce bylaw number 25-34, being a bylaw to establish and regulate the Elizabethtown-Kitley Fire and Emergency Services, and to repeal bylaw 01-32 and 05-13. And this shall constitute the first and second reading thereof. Could I have a mover and seconder for that, please? Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Brady. Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to third reading of that same bylaw. The motion is the bylaw number 25-34 be given third reading and finally passed, signed, and numbered accordingly. A mover and seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Osterhoff, seconded by Councillor Renault. And all those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay, this brings us to correspondence. So the motion is that the following correspondence items 1 through 7 be received and filed, and the following correspondence item number 9 be received and supported. And now I have to look at what we did with number 8.
Number 8.
Number 9. I don't see them.
I don't have one either.
We talking about.
Okay, so I'm gonna, all right, so this was just a typo.
I think so.
All right, so items 1 through 7 will be received and filed, and item 8 will be received and supported. That's how that goes. So mover and seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Eady, seconded by Councillor Renault. Okay, and so we'll just go through these quickly in order. Item number Correspondence item 1, that was the email thread. Council will already be familiar with that regarding the strong mayor powers and the minister's letter. Any discussion on that? Don't mention. Okay. Number 2, that was the support ticket regarding the same thing, detailing why the minister's letter was never received. Item 3, this is Town of Prescott letter regarding their response to the strong mayor powers. Any discussion there? Okay. Number 4, this is an email from Councillor Paula Banks and Rita Lakes regarding strong mayor powers. Any discussion on that one? Okay, not seeing any. Oh, sorry, Councillor Grau.
Okay. Is what she's asking for, would that be covered off by the letter that you sent already?
Well, so there's a draft of that letter, assuming the council is fine with that, then I'll sign that and send that, and then yes, we can send that as our position, so that she's aware of where we stand on that. Okay, so that was number 4. Sorry, Councillor Smith.
Just with regards to all these strong mayor power letters, you know, we've had I think we had a fulsome discussion about all this, and we had our draft letter that you've written up here. And reading through all the other municipal ones that we see. And I say to myself, if there's that many municipalities who have turned it down, I think they said 100 or 144. The 60%, 70% have turned down the strong mayor powers. And I think the whole thing about the strong mayor powers, it all started with the build more homes, whatever. And I have no problem with that. And we all know our municipality is not that big, and for what we contribute is minimal. It's very minute. In the bigger scheme of things of GTA and Oshawa, Kingston, Ottawa, the big cities, maybe so. But now the strong mayor powers, as we heard a couple of weeks ago here, is starting to get a little bit bigger and bigger than what I thought it was going to be from the beginning. About where mayors have the power of firing CEOs and whatever. I don't think that's what the strong mayor powers was really all about. And I have to applaud some of these towns and cities and municipalities who are saying, you know what, we're done with it, we don't really want it. And we're really not going to change much here. And I think the bottom line is if municipalities want change, they have the ability to make their changes by then amending their bylaws. So I'm wondering, I'm not sure if we want to take the big step and say, how about province? Why don't you just rescind your strong mayor powers and pull back and think about what's just taken place in the last few months? Because in my opinion, it's really stirred up a lot of municipalities. So that's just where I'm thinking when I'm reading all this stuff, because I just we're not going to make much of a difference here, in my opinion. This is not for the small rural municipalities. Okay, this is for the bigger cities, and I think if we take a stance as allow these people to say, you know what, we're not supporting it. What we said was we can't get the word declined it, right? Basically the same thing, but softer. But all I'm saying is that should we accept, or should we take a stance and send it out and say, should we get the resolution to have the province rescind their strong mayor powers? I don't know. I just don't, honestly, I don't see the benefit of it for the small rural municipalities. That's how I feel. But I'll leave it at that.
Couple of things, I haven't verified the 100, so I'm accepting it at face value.
Yeah, that's
You
what I
are.
mean.
You know, I'm not disputing it, I don't know whether 100 others have refused it or declined it or what have you. I think maybe part of the reason that you don't feel that it applies to the small municipalities or even to us and so on. Actually, it's a good thing, the fact. I'm gonna point to Rouse Corners, right, like that's the biggest project that could have the most impact in a relatively short space of time, once the shovels get in the ground. To put it into perspective, every room in a long-term care home counts as a resident,
Yeah.
because that's where somebody lives, so using that same approach that the province uses, by the way, when it reports all its stats, so I'm just taking out of its playbook. That Rouse Corners project, when fully phased, will represent a 20% increase in the number of doors in our municipality. So on a percentage basis, it could be a big thing. But council's already all aligned on that, right? We're all behind that. We don't need strong mayor powers to advance that.
Exactly.
However, I could see that if the circumstances were different, then you may feel different. If you happen to be a proponent of that Rouse Corners project, and we were a council that was very divided on that, you might look at these strong mayor powers differently. So, I get what you're saying, but I can understand, I can stretch my mind a little bit and understand how just because it's a small municipality or a rural municipality doesn't necessarily mean that they don't apply. I don't think it was rolled out very well. There was no notice. It was done midterm, you know, nobody ran on these things. There's just so much wrong with the way it was rolled out. And one point of clarification, the business of the ability to hire and fire certain staff members and so on, that remains consistent with the original implementation of the strong mayor powers. All that's happened recently is that those same powers now have been rolled out to many more municipalities all at once. So it always was that way. You can be forgiven. I certainly didn't know nearly as much detail then as I know now, but originally it was rolled out for Ottawa and Toronto. Like they were the first two to get it. And then I think there were two more increments, or maybe there was one. I forget how that rolled out, but again, you know, big municipalities. And so I was aware of it, but I didn't know all the details. I'll be quite honest, I didn't know all the details. And then all of a sudden, congratulations, you're getting these things in a week. What the heck? You know, and we all know how that rolled out. That's when we all started to become very educated, me included, and started to get into these nuances of, you know, if I am going to even direct staff to bring a report forward, that has to be in writing, and then it goes on a log on the website and all that kind of. I didn't know any of that when it was first introduced. It was all part, like there's been no change in what the strong mayor powers themselves are. All that has changed is they've been rolled out to 21 more municipalities, I think it was about a year ago. But even that came with a commitment for additional housing targets and access to funding. But this 169 rollout that went, you know, the way it did recently, doesn't include any funding, doesn't include any targets. It's the rollout is very, very different, not the powers themselves. So I just wanted to sort of bring a couple of those edges into focus. That's all. I think did I see a hand over here? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Councilor Reagan. I knew there was somebody else. Go ahead.
Hey, I just know I'm little guy, but.
Yeah.
Well. It says strong mayor's powers. It doesn't just say strong councilor's powers. So I don't know if. My thinking is. It should be the mayor's. If they want to take this load on, take it on. Or if you don't. Like I don't want to do myself out of a job, but I don't see where a council should have their nose in it at all.
Well, thank you for that. That brings it certainly into focus. I guess I feel that certainly prior to the implementation, council had every right to weigh in. And this is just a continuation of, I guess, exercising whatever right you have to say that no, representing the people, you don't think that this is the democratic way to do things and so on. So I appreciate what you're saying, and it's a valid viewpoint, but I don't think there's any harm in council taking a position. Whether it amounts to anything is a totally different story, but I don't think there's any harm in taking a position. Councilor Renault?
I was fine with the strong mayor powers when it was, you asked for. Not, it's gonna be shoved down your throat.
Mhm.
Because the public sees it as, well, why did we elect all these people? And then you got Smith Falls sitting there with all these new apartments. And they're half rented out. So there's what? Not enough housing? Well, if there's not enough housing, why aren't they with waiting lists to get into these apartment buildings? So it's confusing in some of the ways. And then it just, yeah. The public, and we've already had one mayor in our county use the strong mayor laws. So. Do we use it, we don't use it, but is there a possibility of not taking it on? I thought that once it was given to you, you didn't have the ability to say, I don't want it.
No,
So how is she saying that 100 of them said they didn't want it? They weren't gonna do it.
Say,
yeah, so just like this council passed a resolution and directed that we send a response back to the province, and May 1st came very quickly and the province implemented it anyway, but there's a draft letter in here, so we can respond that as a township, our position is we want to decline them. The fact of the matter is the law is the law, and as Councillor Brayton pointed out, you know, they're aimed at me. So it's up to me now. There are certain things that I can redelegate, and I'm in the process of, and all of these things have to be exercised by way of a written document. So I'm in the process of developing those documents to redelegate the powers back to where they used to be it to our CAO, to council, what have you, to the extent that the law allows. But there are certain things that I can't even shed myself of, right? That I can't shed my responsibility for the budget back to staff. I can just wait and do nothing and say, well, I'm sorry, this is the strong mayor power thing. I just have to wait until my power expires and our budget doesn't start until mid-February. Like that would be one way. So those are the things, you know, for the things that I cannot overtly shed by way of a written directive, I'm working my way through how close can I get to status quo, you know, before all this happened to me and vicariously to everybody. So you're right. This is at this point a token gesture, but to the government's credit, they have in the past listened to things after the fact and repealed and rejigged. So I don't yet view it as a worthless effort. I think at this point, there's still enough of a voice and it's still loud enough. I think there may be something to contribute because I think council has made it pretty clear how they feel and we're all on the same page. As long as that's good. So I believe Councillor Banks' letter was to, is this not the ones asking for support? No, okay. I was gonna say, I thought this was the one asking for support for AMO to provide a facility for all of the municipalities opposed to this to meet come April, but that's not the case. So we'll be able to respond to this one once council deals with the draft letter a little bit later in the agenda. All right, so that was, I think item 4, we'll just get back there. Yep, that was 4. So item 5 is the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus June newsletter. Any questions there that I can take back to our warden? Okay. Well, I think I heard a hand or heard something. Okay. Number 6, an email regarding a plant-based treaty. Any discussion around that item?
It's just being filed, right?
Yes, it's part of the 1 through 7 being received and filed. Okay, 9.7, email regarding dangerous traffic speeds through the hamlet of Jasper. So that is, let me just have a look at that one. That one is saying receive and file.
pass that on.
Yeah, I think.
Road 16.
Yeah,
County roads.
I think that should be going to the county.
Yep.
And they've been wanting forever a stop sign. Coming from County Road 16
Yep.
to the, what do you call them? Train tracks.
Yep.
Thank you, because you can't see, and they put a silly mirror up there.
Yep.
That. It's useless. It really isn't.
So-
Or don't park.
Yep.
Along the hotel. They park along the street of the hotel, so if you're coming from the mailbox.
Yep.
You can't see around them.
So what I would like to do, rather than dive deeply into this one at a council meeting during the correspondence, I would like to tweak this so that this particular item gets referred to our committee of the whole. The reason is, yes, it's a county road, and I don't disagree with you, Councillor Smith, you know, to go to the county, but there's sort of a process. The county looks for support from the lower tier when direction is given. So if we want to see traffic calming measures, if we want to see a stop sign or what have you, there should be a resolution ultimately come from the council first. And, you know, that I can take with me to
Bring
the
it back
county.
like that.
So I think if we bring this back to, I don't necessarily think it has to come back as a staff report. I think we can just make sure this item goes as a correspondence item to the committee of the whole, and then we can start driving a discussion from there. I saw you break out into a sweat there. for a second.
Counselor Smith.
Okay, so I'm going to amend this that, is that item 5?
That's 97.
Seven. Okay, so this will be 1 through 6 be received and filed, 7 referred to the committee of the whole, and item 8 to be received and supported. Okay, and so that brings us to item 8, and I presume that we're okay supporting that. Discussion, go ahead, Councillor Riddle.
Just asking, how likely is the county to then say yes?
Oh, I think there's an appetite at the county. This reached the draft stage before, and it's only because of difficulties with ownership and so on. So much time has elapsed. Studies had to be updated. Plus, they're taking advantage of changes in ROP that allow them to rejig and actually put a few more units in there as well. So I think the likelihood is very good. I don't think this is just a stall tactic. So is everybody okay with supporting that extension?
That
Fair
would
enough.
be another, how many houses?
Yeah, well, I think their design was over 100. Originally 77, but the rejig, it was just a little over 100.
I think we started out at 77.
77 was the original.
2010.
Yeah. That was at a time when our minimum lot size was 2.5 acres, right? So that's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, exactly. Okay, fair enough. So we have the motion on the floor. We've amended that as appropriate to redirect that one item to committee of the whole. So I'm going to go ahead and call the processing of the correspondence then. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Did you get the mover and seconder, Mr. CAO?
Well,
Wasn't it
I'm
just
okay.
two
I have it, sir.
respondents?
It was Councillor Edie and Councillor Renault.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you, Madam Deputy.
No worries.
Not as bad as I thought.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, I see what I've done here. Okay, so we need a separate motion. Yes, all right. So the actual support needs a separate motion. So item number 8. Yeah, so that is the council provides the counties with support for the Dearborn subdivision extension as requested. And the council understands that if extended, the new lapsing date will be June 25, 2026. So I'm looking for a mover and second for that motion. Moved by Councillor Renault, seconded by Councillor Smith. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call that. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Alrighty, so that brings us to information items. So there in your package is the draft letter that I put together. Admittedly, plagiarized a little bit from Prescott. I have a good relationship with their mayor, but I did certainly make it relevant to us. And so my suggestion is, as you see in the letter, that we go ahead and make it clear that our position is to decline the powers. But we would like a more collaborative approach rather than just steamroll with really no opportunity to provide feedback. So my feelings won't be hurt. If anybody has any suggestions or changes that they want, I'm open to that. Otherwise, if everybody's comfortable, that's what I'll go ahead and sign and send off then. Okay, supported. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have an information item to share with us this evening? Okay, not seeing anybody. So that brings us to motions and notices of motion. Now, I did give a notice of motion, so I think Councillor Smith, are you acting mayor now? I think so. I believe so. All right, so really, in order to move this, I should pass the gavel to you for this process.
You just want him to read it.
No, I don't mind reading it to move it, but he should share the discussion for sure.
Go ahead.
All right, so I move that whereas alignment of vision, approach, and mindset among all members of a team are cornerstones of a high functioning and productive group. And whereas vacancies and or leaves of absence, the onboarding of a new CAO, the province's unexpected introduction of strong mayor powers, and many other factors have disrupted the dynamic the council had developed at the start of its term. And whereas only a minority of council members took advantage of regional midterm refresher training offered to all municipalities in Leeds and Granville earlier this year, whereas council still has work to do on several outstanding priorities identified in its 2023 through 2026 strategic plan, and whereas ratepayers deserve council's very best effort to achieve the goals set out in its strategic plan by the end of the term. Now therefore be resolved that the council directs staff to seek quotes and proposals from third-party specialists to facilitate a tailor-made team building and restoration exercise, and return to council as soon as practicable with a report on options for said exercise. So I would seek a seconder if someone is so interested.
Starting by Counselor 80. So you moved to Counselor 80, seconded. Any questions? Comments? All those in favor? Opposed, carried.
Okay. Thank you very much. Alrighty. So having the gavel back now, we'll move on to public question period. Madam Deputy, are you monitoring the email remotely?
Yes, I am, sir. I was having a hard time finding the mute button and there were none received.
Okay, fair enough. So that brings us to our closed meeting. We do have one scheduled for this evening. The motion is that the regular council meeting adjourn at 8:10 p.m. For a closed meeting regarding one matter under section 239 subsection 2B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically public works manager recruitment. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder for that, please. Moved by Councillor Eady, seconded by Councillor Renault. All those in favor? That carries. Okay, so we will take a moment to end our live stream. I will say that we won't be coming back live. We will be coming back after the closed so that I can report out into the minutes. I believe we probably have a confirmatory bylaw after that, and that will also be reflected in the minutes. So thank you everybody who may be joining us to watch now or later.